Many of the members of our monastic community have led a meditation retreat here in the motherland of Buddhism. So this is a small moment in history for our community. So I feel very glad and honoured to be part of this. To begin the retreat, part of our way of life is to use some of the devotional and reflective chanting. And so just as a way of beginning things this evening, even though it says morning chanting, for the sake of simplicity we'll use it in the evening as well. So I also I understand that many, if not all of you, are unfamiliar with the style of puja and chanting of our community. So this is the intention behind chanting is devotional, not to create more anxiety of feeling that you're getting it wrong or that someone's going to criticize you for not chanting right. Your pronunciation of Pali will be better than mine. So so it's a customary way of expressing one's dedication to the Triple Gem and the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, and a way of, bringing to mind those qualities that they represent, the qualities of wisdom, of truth and of goodness. So we'll just have a very brief section of the chanting beginning on page 2. We'll just do the very first part of the morning chanting, page 2, and then up to the Namo Tassa at the end of page 3. So just page 2 and page 3 to begin with this evening. And so please just join in with this in whatever ways you feel comfortable. So things are not obligatory. You're not compelled or obliged. If you can't read the Roman alphabet quickly enough, that's all right. But it's more the intention is to join in with the spirit of, inclining the mind and directing the mind towards Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, and to put our voices together in a way that helps to unify us. Yo so bhagava araham samma sambuddho, to the Blessed One, the Lord, who fully attained perfect enlightenment, Soakato yena bhagavata dhammo, to the teaching which he expounded so well, Supatipanno bhagavato sāvaka sangho, and to the Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well, Tamayang bhagavantang sadamang sasangang, to these the Buddha, the Dhamma and the Sangha, ime sakare yataraham aropite abhipujayama. We render with offerings our rightful homage. Sadhu no bhante bhagava suchira parinibhutopi
It is well for us that the Blessed One, having attained liberation, Pachima Janathanukamba Manasa, still had compassion for later generations. Ime Sankari Dukatapana Karabhute Patiganhatu. May these simple offerings be accepted. Amhakam Dikaratang Hitaya Sukhaya, for our long-lasting benefit and for the happiness it gives us. Araham Samma Sambuddho Bhagava, the Lord, the perfectly enlightened and blessed One, Buddham Bhagavantam Abhivademi. I render homage to the Buddha, the Blessed One. Savakato Bhagavata Dhammo, the teaching so completely explained by him. Dhammam Namasami, I bow to the Dhamma. Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho, the Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well. Sangham Namami, I bow to the Sangha. Annamayang Buddhassa Bhagavato Bhuvayan Makarangaromase. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened One. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened One. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened One.
I'll be giving meditation instruction tomorrow, but for now, as people have just arrived and everyone's just getting settled, we'll just sit quietly for a few minutes now. So whatever meditation method you're used to doing, then please just do that. So we'll just sit for about 10-15 minutes now, and just have we got a bell for it? Okay. Anyway, so we'll sit for about 15 minutes now, and then after that I'll offer some opening reflections to set the form and the principles for this retreat time together. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato
Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa Buddhang Dhammang Sanghang Namasami. Once again, I'm very glad to be here together with you all. I only know the names of two of you so far, but hopefully by the end of our few days together we'll be a bit more well acquainted. First of all, can people hear me clearly enough? Yes? Okay, this is quite good acoustics in here. And I'll try to speak. I know English is not the first language of probably any of you, so I'll try to speak in a way that is clear and uncomplicated, because the point of speaking Dhamma is that it's understood. Just to sit up here and make noises is not of great value. So that the important thing is to use our speech to convey meaning, and so that means there's a transmitter and a receiver, and that they're both working. So if I'm just sitting here transmitting and people are not able to understand what I'm saying, then it's not of any great value. So one of the most helpful teachings that my own Acharya, Venerable Ajahn Chah, gave many years ago when he was visiting London, and the monastery was a small house on a busy street called Haverstock Hill. Maybe some of you have been to London, so this is beside Hampstead Heath. And the vihara was just across the road from the Haverstock Arms pub. Haverstock Hill was the name of the road, and the Haverstock Arms was a pub across the road. And on this occasion, it was a very rare, hot English summer night. We don't have many of them, but it was a hot English summer night, and many people had come to listen to Ajahn Chah giving a Dhamma talk. So there's a small room, much smaller than this, with many people squished in together. And during the meditation, there was loud rock music coming from the pub. And so they had the windows closed to keep the sound to a minimum. And but then when the windows were closed, the temperature in the room got hotter and hotter, because you had 30 people and they were all generating heat. So then they opened the windows so people could breathe and cool down, and then the sound got louder. And all the time, Venerable Ajahn Chah was just sitting there while the meditation was going on. And apparently, he kept everyone sitting for about an hour and a half. And during this time, the window would be opened and then closed and opened and closed, and the sound would get quieter and louder and quieter and louder. And eventually, he rang the bell and said, he didn't speak English, but so this was translated, and he said, "You think the sound is annoying you, but actually it's you that is annoying the sound." So I was reminded of this teaching because I was told that the 4th, 5th and 6th of December are particularly good days for a wedding, which is exactly the time we have our retreat. So we're marrying our hearts to the Dhamma, so we have our own kind of Dhamma wedding in this form of retreat, marrying our lives to the Triple Gem. But anyway, so Ajahn Chah said, you think the sound is annoying you, but rather it's you that is annoying the sound. The sound is just doing what it does. It's just the air vibrating. It's because your mind is saying, don't be there, I'm trying to meditate, you should be different. Then it starts an argument against the sound. And so if there's a fight going on, it's only beginning with you, it's not beginning with the sound. The problem comes from our minds. So this, I feel, is a very, very helpful teaching, because it points towards the importance of attitude in the process of practicing Dhamma. Often we think that in the meditation practice or learning Dhamma teachings, practicing in accordance with Dhamma, it's a lot to do with method, what particular meditation technique you're using, what particular words of Dhamma teachings are being explained, what particular sutta you're quoting, or what aspect of the Abhidhamma is being, explored. And these things are all significant to different kinds of meditation method. There are many and various approaches to meditation that we can use. And there's thousands and thousands, 84,000 sections of Dhamma teaching, as they say in the Sutta Pitaka. But in my own tradition, and the emphasis that my teachers, Ajahn Chah, Ajahn Sumedho, would give, would be to pay a lot of attention to the attitude with which you are attempting to practice. So not just the technique or the method or the substance, but what's the attitude that's being brought to that process of training the mind in meditation or studying or developing skillful means. So that's a theme I'd like to explore. I think will be useful in terms of discussing things that will be helpful in relationship to this retreat time together. So I'll be referring to this aspect of attitude over the next few days, looking at different angles. But the first thing, in terms of attitude, that I feel is very helpful, is to set the intention to, at the beginning of a retreat, to let everything be a teacher for you. So that whether it's the sound of the many weddings outside and the feelings of aversion or negativity towards the sound, or whether it's the way that your mind is working. Maybe you have a very bright, beautiful, peaceful period of meditation, so things are very pleasant, very as it were successful. Maybe you have suddenly developed a knee problem just when you've been looking forward to this retreat for so long, and then ow, your knee goes out. Oh, this is so inconvenient. If only I didn't have this painful knee, everything would be fine. So the advice of my teachers, and what I would like to suggest to all of us gathered here, is to set the intention to let everything be a teacher for us, whether it's a beautiful mind state in meditation, whether it's the sound of the joyful weddings going on, whether it's a pain in our knee at a really inconvenient time, then to not be sort of grasping hold of the pleasant and saying, yes, I'm really succeeding, things are going well, at last I've got what I wanted, or the opposite end of the scale, no, this is awful, this is ruining the whole thing, if only I didn't have this knee problem, then everything would be fine, or if only those blessed weddings would shut up, I would be happy. To instead turn the attitude around, to consider, so here is the experience of hearing music while we are conducting a meditation retreat. What can this teach me? What can I learn from the impact of the sound? Or an illness, maybe your knee, or maybe some stomach problems, maybe a back injury or a physical ailment. To, instead of thinking of this as something that's getting in the way of the meditation, something that's obstructing it, you make it an object. Okay, what can this pain teach me? What can my upset stomach teach me?
and in the same way, the positive experiences as well, rather than, oh, my mind is peaceful, it's concentrated, it's really bright, this is great, at last, after all these years, finally I got what I wanted. Say, okay, this is this is a pleasant experience, what can I learn from this? Rather than, at last, I've got what I wanted, to see, okay, this is a very satisfying, beautiful experience. What is it teaching me? What is it bringing into my life? What can I learn from this? Rather than taking it as something sort of precious and good that you then have to hang on to and be the owner of, but rather, what can be learned from this? So, I strongly encourage this establishing this attitude at the beginning of a retreat. Then nothing can go wrong. Even if you trip over and break your arm, then the trip to the local clinic to get your arm put in plaster, that also can be part of the practice. As Ajahn Chah would often say, you can suffer in every posture, therefore you can be enlightened in every posture. Whether you're sitting, standing, walking, or lying down, you can still create suffering in your mind. Therefore you can end suffering, whether you're sitting, standing, walking, or lying down. The mind is the same mind, whether we're on sitting here in a meditation hall on a retreat, or whether we're sitting in the waiting room of the clinic with our broken arm waiting to be patched up by the doctor. So the ability of the mind to pay attention to what is experiencing, physical sensations, the moods, the emotions that arise and pass away, all of those can be our teachers if we let them. So I hope you can follow this idea as a principle, because it may be something that's familiar to you as an idea, or as an approach, and maybe it's not familiar. But I would strongly encourage this, because in this way, then, rather than feeling like the meditation can only be a success when I have this particular mind state, and I keep it for a long period of time, then the meditation is successful. Everything else equals not success. Then that means to establish a particular kind of concentration or a particular quality of insight as an ongoing experience. If that's what you call good meditation, then that means that a very small proportion of your life is going to be good, and all the rest is just going to be the filler or the not good. But I feel this is a very, very helpful approach to let everything be our teacher. If we're wise, then the changing of the weather will teach us, not just our own personal experiences of comfort or discomfort, success or failure, but if we are observant, just the changing of night into day and day into night, the weather going from cool, everyone, people have hats, blankets, and in the afternoon when the sun is bright, temperature warms up, 25 degrees, 30 degrees. Then to notice how the temperature changes, how that can teach us also. The flowers and the trees of the gardens, the water in the tap, the water in the bottle, the food that we eat, and the room that we're in. If you're observant, then even the water in the shower will teach you. Can teach you lessons about the nature of the world, your body, the elements, and how our lives are put together. So this is our way of developing the capacity to be observant, to pay attention, and to not just to make our mind more busy, but to be ready to, be using the whole field of our experience as a way of learning, a way of developing insight. So I would strongly encourage this, and to be, say, actively using this reflective capacity of mind, what in Pali is called yoniso manasikara, which literally means paying attention to the origin or the source of things. So this is a way of using our intelligence and our capacity to think, rather than just creating worries and plans or replaying memories, but to be able to use our ability to see, to think, to recognize patterns, to explore how things work, and to be ready to learn from that. So this can be, profound insights, into the nature of the body. How, say, realizing that the water in the bottle and the water in your body, you think, I call this me. I call this Ajahn Amaro. I say I am British, or actually I have dual nationality. I have American and British nationality. So this is both a British body and an American body. But you say, well, this is Indian water, Kinley. It's Indian water. But if I drink some of this water, then suddenly it becomes dual nationality, British and American. The air that we breathe, so that here I've been breathing in the air of Delhi, and so that right now here we can say this. Here we are in the this naturopathic healing center, and outside of Delhi, this is Indian air. Then, right? So we say this is India. We're in India. This is Indian air. I breathe it in. That oxygen becomes fixed by my body. Suddenly, it becomes the Indian air becomes a British body or American body. Suddenly, its Indianness disappears, and it acquires Englishness. How does that work? So even just a single breath like that, then this completely English or Anglo-American body, then I breathe out, and the carbon dioxide that was part of my being now becomes Delhi. It's now contributed to India. So suddenly that carbon dioxide, which will be picked up by various plants and turned into cellulose and fixed and become part of the body of the plants, it uses the carbon dioxide to form itself and to live on. Then suddenly it becomes Indian plant life. And a little while ago it was a human being or a British person. So that just observing how nature works and replaying a few of your biology classes and chemistry lessons from way back when. Maybe some of you are chemistry teachers or biology professors. Probably written whole theses about respiration and so forth. But you can consider, isn't that interesting how we think of this body as being who and what we are, but yet it's in a constant state of change. And the elements, the atoms, the molecules that make up this body, they're in a constant state of transmission, transformation, leaving, arriving, and yet we say, this is me, this is who I am. We have a name, we have an ID number, we have a story, we have an address where we live, and so on. We say that's who we are, but yet it never stays still for a moment. So when we talk about, say, and during these few days together, we'll talk about the reflections on anicca, on change. It's not just a theory, but rather you can look at the nature of change and how that feeds the insight into dukkha and anatta, and unsatisfactoriness and not self. That it's not just a sort of spiritual theory that belongs in the meditation hall or in the Dhamma book, but it's being displayed around us, within us, all the time, just with this little example of the air we breathe. So if we are observant, then we can have, say, a profound insight. Like, look at that.
I was living in California for a long time, and they have there these huge redwood trees that are, some of them are 1,000, 2,000 years old, enormous, about 200, 300, more, some 400 feet high, huge things with trunks that are 20 feet, 25 feet thick. And I remember walking through the redwoods, and these trees are so huge and so solid, and someone making the remark. It was I think a botanist who was walking with us and made the comment that the air, the carbon dioxide in the air is what makes up the body of these trees. So he said, the out-breaths of all of the animal life, all of that carbon dioxide, it makes the fabric of these huge trees. And you stand there and you look at this thing and go, that's a lot of out-breaths. And maybe that's scientifically not 100% accurate, but to reflect in that kind of a way, to change the view of how we see our bodies, how we see the material world, and to shift the attitudes that we have, particularly the identification with the body and with the personality. So again, during this time, hopefully we'll explore some of the teachings on, as I said, anicca, dukkha, anatta, on change and uncertainty. Anicca, dukkha, unsatisfactoriness, suffering, that sense of discontent, and anatta, not self. And the purpose of these, the developing of the insight into these qualities, is to help change our view, change our attitude, to help the mind to see things in a different way, and in particular to develop a different perspective on the body and the personality, who and what we think we are, the identification, not just with this physical body, but also with our personality, being a woman, being a man, being old, being young, being tall, being short, being a musician, or being a scientist, or being a teacher, or being a student, being an Indian, or being British, or whatever. All of the different stories we create about who and what we are. So in Pali we call this Sakkaya Ditthi, which means self-view, and this is the first obstruction to enlightenment, to liberation. That's the first big stumbling block, is me, or you. That feeling, I am this person, I am this body, I am this personality, this is my story, this is who and what I am. The degree to which the mind believes those ideas as absolute facts, I am this body, I am this personality, I am a man, I am a woman, I am old, I am young, I am Indian, I am British. The degree to which that I am is taken to be solid and absolute is the degree to which the mind is chained, fettered. These are the first of the 10 fetters, or the fetter is like handcuffs or chains that kind of tie us down. So during these days also, I'd like to use this time to look a bit at that particular obstacle, or that fetter, that collection of habits, and to see how we can use the practices of Buddhist meditation and the principles of Dhamma to help change the perspective, change the view on this mysterious thing that we experience called human life, and the aspects of the identification with the body, with the personality. Well, the first evening, I'll keep things very short, so we won't go on for a long time. But if people have come long distances, we were This morning, myself and Professor Dar and Arpan, we were in Bodh Gaya, so we went out to visit the Jetian Valley this morning. Seems a long time ago already. Driving out through rural Bihar, these beautiful little tiny villages with mud-walled cottages and beautiful hayricks. I'm sure they didn't think of it as beautiful. They probably like to be in the noise and high-tech Delhi was probably very attractive to the people living in those quiet little Bihari villages, but that's where we were this morning, and so we've come a long way today. So many of you have also travelled great distances from different parts of India, as well as people here in Delhi, so I'll keep it short. But maybe one last thing to say about the development of a skillful attitude is when we talk about loving kindness, in the meditation on loving kindness, metta bhavana, often that is spoken of in terms of bringing particular phrases to mind, like saying, may I be happy, may I be well, or may all beings be well, or the sending out sorts of loving kindness to the people that are closest to you, your parents, your children, your loved ones, the people who are then indifferent, or people you don't know so well, people who are hostile, negative to you. So the development of metta bhavana is often this kind of going through lists of people or animals, different, or you can do it in terms of geography, sort of to the north, to the south, to the east, to the west. And so that oftentimes when we think of metta bhavana, loving kindness meditation, it becomes a kind of laundry list, as they say, of like going through the list of names, trying to remember all the people that you like and that you dislike, and that you are say, listing the people or the places that you're sort of sending loving kindness to. But I find for myself that a more effective way of approaching loving kindness and a more say practical approach is to recognize that rather than loving kindness being a kind of special, separate practice, that so you have insight meditation, concentration meditation, vipassana as insight, samatha as concentration, and metta as a different practice. Rather, I like to emphasize that unless there is a foundation of loving kindness, unless there is that quality of well-wishing, and essentially a quality of acceptance and an open-heartedness that says, here it is, this is the way it is, like with the wedding music, here it is, it's this way. It's that open-hearted quality. It's not trying to pretend that we approve of everything or that we like everything, but whether we like it or not, here it is. That painful knee, whether we like it or not, here it is. So that quality of metta, loving kindness, is a radical acceptance for the way things are. Doesn't mean to say we don't act to make things a bit more peaceful or quiet or comfortable. But what it means is that the ground is that the ground of attitude is that everything belongs. The sound belongs. That pain in your stomach belongs. That beautiful, peaceful mind state belongs. The indifferent or the neutral feelings of the cloth on your skin, that belongs. But to establish the attitude of loving kindness as a radical acceptance, that for myself I find that you can't really develop any kind of concentration or insight without there being that basis of loving kindness. That on that attitude, then the efforts to train the mind to concentrate and the efforts to train the mind to see clearly, to develop genuine insight, they can bear great fruit, they can bring very good results.
if there isn't that basis of loving kindness and that quality of acceptance, we very easily start a fight or a number of fights in our mind. Like, this particular mind state belongs, this one doesn't. This perception belongs, that one doesn't. this say intention or this say direction for the mind, that's right, and that one's wrong. And that the mind, by say grasping a particular feeling, like say, the silence is good, noise is bad. Comfort is good, pain is bad. The quiet mind is good, the chattering mind is bad. If there's that setting up one object, one perception against another, we end up with a fight. We're fighting against our own thoughts, fighting against our own body, fighting against the world that is continually trying to come along and interrupt our meditation. As if they think, aha, they're having a retreat in the healing center, great, turn up the volume. I don't think so. So that if you can follow what I'm saying here, that in terms of this retreat time together, and also I'll speak about in the meditation guidance, establishing that attitude of acceptance, a radical acceptance, is extraordinarily helpful. Then when you are trying to train your mind to concentrate, then when chattering thoughts or distracted thoughts arise, rather than attacking them or resenting them or making them into a kind of seeing them as a sort of brain disease, something that needs to be wiped out, got rid of, that you work with a collaborative attitude. You're working with your mind rather than against your mind. Similarly, with your body, those of you, I know many of you have been students of Goenkaji, done many Goenka retreats. I've never done a Goenka retreat. I'm probably the only person here who has. So I only know a little bit about the style through association with others. So I was already in a monastery when I was introduced to Theravada Buddhist teachings. Because I went to the monastery as a cheap place to stay. But the Buddhism came after. Really, it's true. So when you make the feelings of the body something that, like pain in your body, is something that you're fighting against, that you're sort of having an attitude of negativity or resentment. You're trying to conquer your distraction and focus your attention. Then you might be successful in some respect in getting the mind to focus or to be attentive, but that the way of steering the mind just through willpower and just a sense of domination. I'm not too aware of how any or all of you have used the meditation in the past, but I certainly have done this myself, where you're trying to force the mind to behave. You're trying to force it to stay focused on an object, and it's just like a kind of oppressive government. You got police everywhere, armed police everywhere. It's like everyone's uptight, and everyone in sight of the police is very well behaved, but underground there's all kinds of trouble being brewed because it's an oppressive system. The air is tense, and as soon as the control slips, then things fall apart. So you don't want to turn your mind into a police state where you're just oppressing the body or oppressing your thoughts and your feelings with a kind of domineering attitude. We can force the mind to behave just by sheer willpower, but if we use an aggressive and contentious
means will have a conflicted and stressful result. In Buddha Dhamma, one of the most important principles is the means and the end are unified. The old political principle of the end justifies the means is not Buddha Dhamma. They say the means and the end are unified. So if you want to have a peaceful and harmonious end, you want to have a peaceful and harmonious result, you need to use a peaceful and harmonious means. Again, it doesn't mean to say that we're passive, so it's like you're training a little child. Maybe you have a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old who just wants to jump up and run around and play about. So that if you want to work with that, you want to get the child to behave or to learn how to write the alphabet, then if you just shout at them and say, "Shut up, sit down, behave," you get obedience for a short period of time. You also probably get tears and a stressful relationship. At least my experience with children. That's how it works. But if instead you work with the child and they're busy, excited energy, then you say, "Let's play writing." So sit here, come sit down, and then you get the child, get the crayon in their hand. Okay, let's make an A. Okay, one leg here, another leg there, and then a bar across the middle. It's an A. What is it? A. It's an A, right? So you're working with that kind of busy, chatty, agitated energy. You're respecting that's what's there, but you're not just trying to force it to obey and behave, but rather you're taking that and working with it. So this is the kind of approach I feel is very helpful, and I hope also that you can have a sense of how that works and that you can empathize with that. Because when we work in a collaborative way with the body, with the mind, we use a peaceful and harmonious means, then that leads much more easily to a peaceful and harmonious result. And as the Buddha and my own teacher Ajahn Chah would often emphasize, the purpose of this whole business is peace. That's the aim of our practice, is peacefulness. So I offer these thoughts for consideration this evening, and I hope you all have a peaceful night. Enjoy the music as long as it lasts. And also our managing team taking good care of everyone. So I hope you all have got settled, and look forward to seeing you all again in the early morning, 5 o'clock we gather. So to end this evening, we can do a little short chant together. We can do the sharing of blessings. We can do the verses of sharing and aspiration, do the English version, that's on page 33. By the way, for the chant, there's a very simple musical notation. You see these little triangles, little kind of chevrons. So the way we chant in our particular tradition is you start, you have what's called a home note, the pitch that the chant is centered on, and then if there's a little triangle above a word, then you go up one note. If it has a triangle below, you go down one note, and if it has no triangle above or below, then you stay on the home note. So that's what the system is. So please do join in if you wish. Now let us chant the verses of sharing and aspiration through the goodness that arises from my practice. May my spiritual teachers and guides of great virtue, my mother, my father, and my relatives, the sun and the moon, and all virtuous leaders of the world, may the highest gods and evil forces, celestial beings, guardian spirits of the earth, and the Lord of death, may those who are friendly, indifferent, or hostile, may all beings receive the blessings of my life. May they soon attain the threefold bliss and realize the deathless. Through the goodness that arises from my practice, and through this act of sharing, may all desires and attachments quickly cease, and all harmful states of mind, until I realize Nibbana in every kind of birth. May I have an upright mind, with mindfulness and wisdom, austerity and vigor. May the forces of delusion not take hold, nor weaken my resolve. The Buddha is my excellent refuge. Unsurpassed is the protection of the Dhamma. The solitary Buddha is my noble guide. The Sangha is my supreme support. Through the supreme power of all these, may darkness and delusion be dispelled.